Welcome to the Downtime from WTWH Media with your hosts, Sarah Wynn and Sheri Kasprzak, bringing you everything you need to know from the week in manufacturing.
Hey, I'm Sarah Wynn. It's a pleasure to be here. This is our first episode of the Downtime.
Yeah, we're here to bring you everything about the week in manufacturing. And we have a great show today. We're going to be talking about pack wrap. Sarah, you've got a really viral story going on social media, 30,000 plus impressions so far. So why don't you start us off with that? Later on in the episode, we're going to be chatting with Eugene Demaitre of the Robot Report about the Robotics Summit coming up in late April, early May. And then we're going to be closing out the episode with the topic that everyone is talking about, tariffs. So why don't you kick us off, Sarah?
Sure. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Sarah Wynn. I'm a co-host of the Downtime along with Sheri. We are both editors with WTWH Media. We're a B2B publication. We're based in Cleveland, but we have employees throughout the country. I joined the company back in December to become the digital editor for Packaging OEM. If you're interested, it's www.packagingoem.com. We cover news, the latest technology trends for manufacturers, machine builders to help them make informed packaging decisions. And the post that Sheri's referencing is actually a post that I put up on my own LinkedIn about Ranpak's paper wrap collaboration. So what exactly is it? It's a paper-based, it's recyclable paper pallet wrap to stabilize loads during transportation and secure them. It's an interesting product because it's new to North America. It's through a collaboration between Ranpak, which I already mentioned, Paper Wrap, Green by Orange. Paper Wrap is based in Europe, and Mondi Group. So Paper Wrap provides the machinery. There's custom machines to work with this environmentally friendly product. And Mondi Group provides the Advantage stretch wrap paper. And Ranpak ties it in, bringing it to the North American market. So they introduced it back at ProMat last month in Chicago. Sheri and I were on the ground for the event. And it was a hit. It was awesome to see in person. And in addition to the paper wrap that they introduced, they also had several machines, and we're working on a story about that now, including on-demand printing. So this specific story on Ranpak's paper wrap, with the collaboration with Mondi, collaboration with paper wrap, it performed better than I could have expected. It had over 30,000 eyes on it. Became one of our better stories for the month. So yeah, thank you, Sheri, for asking about it.
Yeah, for sure.
It was a win.
Yeah, it was winning. You are winning. So, like, why do you think it resonates so much in the packaging world? How do you think you managed to get so much traction from that story?
So we did a few things. While I was on the ground at the event, I got video interviews. I got videos of the products. I wanted to showcase it in a different way. So Packaging OEM, we've been publishing videos from Pack Expo, from ProMat, but I've also been making a lot of GIFs. I've been a social media manager and a digital journalist for about a decade, and I know the power of a good GIF. And with this one, we show the paper wrap kind of stabilizing the pallet, wrapping around with the machinery. It's eye-popping, it's engaging, plus it ties into sustainability, which is a huge pillar in packaging at the moment. You know, in a world where we're trying to lower emissions and reduce materials, this is a good example of how someone can integrate it onto their packaging line. And it isn't that much of an ad. It's not building out a new conveyor. It's not building out a new line. It's just adding it at the end of the line. So I think a few things, it being sustainability focused, and it was also around Earth Day. I think that's what propelled it forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, congratulations on the win. You are winning. Hashtag winning. So yeah, that's great. Thank you so much, Sarah. And I'm Sheri Kasprzak. I am the managing editor for the automation and control brands for WTWH Media. My brands are plant engineering, control engineering, and consulting specifying engineer. Everything that you need for your plant floor and how to control those, that equipment. So Welcome to the Downtime. Super excited to be chatting with you. Sarah and I had a conversation with Eugene Demaitre, who is the editorial director for the Robot Tower here at WTWH Media, and he is going to be leading some panels at the Robotics Summit coming up April 30th and May 1st. So we had a great conversation with Gene. He kind of took us through what he's expecting. I think they're expecting more than 5,000 attendees this year. So sounds like a really fun event. That's going to be in Boston. So why don't we take a listen to the conversation we had?
And before we dive into that, I wanted to make sure to highlight, Gene said there will be over 200 exhibitors. The event is next week. There's still time to buy tickets. If you are in the area or if you want to go to Boston, they'll be there.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's have a listen. Hi there. We have Eugene Demaitre from WTWH Media. He is the editorial director of the robotics group here, and we're so thrilled to have you on the Downtime. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's funny, I'm on my own podcast a lot. It's always nice to be on other people's podcasts.
It's sometimes nice to be a guest and not just the host.
That's right.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about your podcast real quick, Gene.
Yeah, the Robot Report podcast is something that we do just about every week. And we've been doing it now for probably 5 years. Steve Crow and I co-founded it, but Mike Oitzman is our primary host now. And we talk to leaders across the robotics ecosystem every week. And so we talk about everything from humanoids to autonomous vehicles to the RVR50 awards, all that good stuff.
Awesome.
Thank
So
you.
everyone listening now should go and listen to the Robot Report, but only
Absolutely.
after they listen to ours and then go over. Yeah.
There you go.
Awesome. So yeah, the Robotics Summit is coming up in Boston on the 30th and May 1st. We know that you've got a couple of sessions that you're leading. Why don't you tell us a little bit about some of the topics that you'll be discussing and some of the deep dives that you'll be leading some people through for the summit?
Sure. And, again, I'm been grateful to be involved in the Robotics Summit Next Expo. It's our 5th year, and it's been growing every year. So we're expecting up to 5,000 people to attend. We've got over 200 exhibitors. The sessions that I'll be leading are focused on actually, a lot of them are focused around our warehousing track, because among other things, I help run our automated warehouse site in addition to the robot report. And so one of my sessions will be on 3PLs in robotics, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So logistics companies are among the big leaders in adoption of warehouse robots. And we get into some of the advantages of that, but also some of the pitfalls that they've had to work through in terms of scaling up robot deployments. Another session I'll be working on is on a hot topic right now, humanoid robots. We'll be talking about virtual twins and humanoids. So what does simulation enable in terms of development and training of humanoid robots? And then one of the last sessions I'll be moderating is about lights out fulfillment and warehouse automation. And we've been hearing for years now about this notion of, can you run a warehouse or a distribution center completely with no humans? Right. And there are a lot of people striving toward that goal, but it's not a done deal, not by a long shot. And in fact, probably 70% of North American warehouses have no automation yet, very little automation. So how do we get from where we are now to that ideal? And so that's another session I'll be moderating. And then one of the other things I'll be doing is I'll be posting a couple of podcast recordings as it happens on the show floor. So, I'll be running around between all of these, but hopefully I'll also have a chance to check out our show floor and also other people's sessions as well.
That sounds great. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's going to be a really interesting time to talk about warehouse automation. One topic that we'll be discussing a little later on in our podcast is how manufacturers are automating in this sort of tariff uncertainty environment that we're kind of living in, and how can you scale when you're not really sure what's going on, how to automate that. Like, say more about that and kind of some of the insights you're hoping to get and hoping to discuss when it comes to warehouse automation, kind of in the tariff environment that we're living in now.
It's funny, I've already written a little bit about that, and it was the elephant in the room at the last couple of trade shows I attended, right? It had not yet been fully announced, so a lot of people were sort of anticipating or holding off. But now the need for resilience, for flexibility is greater than ever. Labor shortages are not going away, while the supply chains that feed these warehouses may be shifting in the short term. The demand is not going to change. If anything, the need to locate goods closer to the consumer is going to be even more important because the economies of scale are going to be even more tight for warehouse operators, 3PLs, consumer brands, and the like. And so I think it's noteworthy that uh, two of our keynote speakers are also in the supply chain space. We'll have Symbiotics James Kuffner talking about intelligent logistics, and then we'll also have Amazon's Aaron Parnas talking about giving robots a sense of touch. And so robots are really a small part of the overall scene, but they're a key enabler for warehouses to be able to move goods smarter, faster, and better than before, and more affordably than before. So, well before we start moving production back to the US, it's going to take a while, right? We know the auto industry was struggling with that. It's still struggling with that. But in the meantime, how we move goods around is an opportunity for robotics, but it's also a challenge because in the short term, last year it was interest rates that everyone was complaining about. This year it's a trade war, quite likely. And so that affects people's ability to spend on things. And so that changes all the timelines of adoption. It changes how things are going to, what kinds of things are going to get implemented, right? Maybe you don't want to buy a huge, complicated system that's going to take 6 months to install. Maybe you'll put in things that are more easy to integrate. And so we're already hearing from the robotics vendors and robotics developers that they're shifting their focus in terms of trying to make things easier, even easier for the end user.
Hmm. Excellent. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about some of the technology that you're most excited about seeing? I always love, like, when I go to a trade show, just seeing robots in action and watching them work. So tell me a little bit about some of the technology that you're really looking forward to seeing.
So at the Robotics Summit and Expo, one of the coolest things on our show floor is there's a whole range of things. I love seeing things related to healthcare, and obviously our partners at Device Talks will also have surgical robots and healthcare related systems on hand. But uh, the Mass Robotics Accelerator is going to have a big display, so we'll be looking at the startups that they have. I'm looking at the RPR50 showcase, where we just announced a few weeks ago our annual winners of our innovation awards. And so it'll be cool to see those robots in person. And then the other thing is that there's a range from, as I mentioned, warehouse systems through therapeutic and healthcare and manufacturing systems. But there's also room for fun, right? And it's not every day people get to interact with robots. And so one of the things that we'll have on the show floor is Tenabot, which is a Mass Robotics resident startup. And what that will do, they'll actually have a full-size pickleball court, and the robot will be retrieving balls and shooting them back to players. And so, you know, bring good shoes because you can be running around. But we want to have, again, a range of experiences for people. Last year, we had some robots from Disney. And what's really interesting is that, they just had a thing with Lucasfilm, and they showed off the same robots that they showed off at our show a year ago. And so, it's a real opportunity and a sneak peek at what's coming.
That sounds great.
So,
Well, sorry,
real
go ahead.
fast. So pickleball, it's not just for humans anymore. That's our big takeaway.
Well, the pickleball robot is to help humans play, right? Because
Ah,
like having to run after a ball, or especially if you don't have the advantage of having an opponent to play against you in practice,
Mhm.
imagine having the robot on the other side of the court, cleaning things up and shooting them back to you.
Yeah. I mean, I'd rather play pickleball being enabled by a robot than racing against them, as China has already like gotten
Yeah.
these
We saw that,
humanoids
yeah.
that are running marathons now. I mean, I'm struggling to keep up with 20-year-olds on the 5K, and now we have humanoids racing. So
Well, but remember, most of those humanoids, a lot of them fell over. So
that's true.
you don't have to worry too much just yet. We will have one of our top keynotes will be Boston Dynamics,
Mm,
and their CTO, Aaron Saunders, will talk about the redesign of their Atlas humanoid to get all electric and to therefore be more useful in the real world. And so humanoids are coming. It's just a matter of understanding how and where they should be used. And a lot of the stunts that we see, like that race in China over the weekend, they're great, but they also show the real limitations of the technology and all the problems that have yet to be solved. And that's largely what the Robotics Summit is about, is discussing with developers, okay, how can we come together and learn from one another and come up with systems that are even better going forward.
absolutely. Well, Jean, thank you so much for joining us, and we're really all looking forward to the Robotics Summit in the next week. So thanks again.
Jean, before we let you go, can you just tell me the Robotics Summit, how many exhibitors are you expecting? How many attendees? Where is it? Tell us everything.
Yeah. So the Robotics Summit and Expo is on April 30th and May 1st. It's going to be at the Boston Convention and Exhibition Center downtown, and we're expecting up to 5,000 attendees, which is great growth year over year. We'll have about 200 exhibitors, and we'll have dozens of sessions with some of the panels I mentioned, but many, many more on all kinds of topics, ranging from technology, enabling technologies through development, all the way to uses in healthcare and warehousing and other industries. And there is still time to register. So definitely, I encourage people to get out there. And we're also going to have a lot of networking events. We'll have a Women in Robotics breakfast. We'll have the OVR 50 gala. Not only is it an opportunity to learn in sessions or to see robots on the show floor, but it's an opportunity to meet with, other robotics developers, with engineers, end users, investors, analysts, the whole community.
Awesome. So if you're into robotics, this is the event for you. You got to go.
Definitely. I very much look forward to seeing everybody there.
That sounds great. And everyone, don't forget to go check out the Robot Report podcast. And thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Next up, let's talk tariffs. That's the topic of conversation that a lot of folks in manufacturing are keeping their eyes on. A lot of manufacturers, particularly plants that are looking to scale their automation, strategies, they're grappling with what to do. We don't know what is on the table for tariffs, what's not. Things are being paused. There's a lot of uncertainty. And I had a really great conversation with a couple of people who are in the automation world. Let's listen in to my chat with Locus Robotics CEO Rick Faulk. He had some really great insights about what organizations who are looking to scale their automation plans can do even with tariff uncertainty. Let's listen. Hi there. We have with us today Rick Faulk, who is the CEO of Locus Robotics. Thank you so much for joining us. Wanted to jump into tariffs and manufacturing. We are in a time of uncertainty. I think that's easy to say. One day tech tariffs are on, the next they're off. So there's a lot of uncertainty in manufacturing and in automation. Wanted to get your thoughts on how organizations in manufacturing who want to automate can approach the current environment.
Well, you're right. Uncertainty is the word of the day, I guess, including the word of today. There's a couple things I think that are important. One is understanding and emphasizing ROI. That's number one. As long as there's ROI with a project, typically that's a big step in the right direction. Flexibility is unbelievably important. With the changing dynamics that happen, it seems almost hourly and daily. promoting flexibility, understanding flexibility when doing a project is really, really important. And I think understanding and working with partners to be not just a vendor, but to be a strategic advisor and consultant when looking at automation solutions and that sort of thing. And as part of that, really shifting the conversation between a CapEx expenditure and a resilient expenditure. Like, we saw robots on a RaaS basis, robots as a service, and being able to flex up and flex down in times of uncertainty is unbelievably important. And in these times of uncertainty, I don't think tariffs are just a stop sign. I think it's a turn signal. And really, it's a don't wait and stop for the road to clear, but make a decision.
Yeah, and on that path, where should people who are looking to automate their organizations, where should they be turning? What are some quick and easy ways that they can scale their automation plans, even given this uncertain environment?
Well, a couple things. The first thing I think for any organization is to start small and then scale. Organizations that jump in and try to automate every single process they have can come with problems and complexity and frankly mistakes. So start small, but figure out how to scale smartly is really important. The other thing that I think is important in any of these models is to do things what we call robots as a service, do it on a RaaS basis, not on a CapEx basis. And that way you can scale up, you can scale down. And frankly, if you make mistakes, you can adjust as opposed to writing a big CapEx check, which presents problems. I think it's important to focus on speed, not perfection, the speed to value. In times of uncertainty, figuring out how to get something done quickly. May not be perfect. You may not have all the data, but figuring out how to do it quickly is important. And I think the way to look at it is automation is not really a capital decision. It's really a strategic insurance policy. And that's how organizations should really think about it today.
Absolutely. Just briefly, kind of in a bullet format, what are three key ways that organizations can scale in the current environment?
Well, the smartest way really is to not look at automation like concrete, look at it as Legos, if you will. Start with a certain infrastructure and then expand it. And having that good foundation with Legos, if you will, and then be able to expand on top of that is really important. And I think the most important thing is act. The time really is now to do something. Building for agility, building for change is important, and really thinking beyond borders. Smart organizations today are really thinking beyond the borders that they live in today, but how they make decisions that'll cross borders, which are going to happen over time. I think the winners are those that do asset light, flexible models. Those are the ones that they're really going to win. And tariffs are going to come and they're going to go, but labor shortages, customer expectations, cost pressures, they're here to stay. And those aren't going to go away. They aren't going to change. I think the real risk in automation is doing nothing while your competitors act and doing something. That's the biggest risk. And a lot of organizations in these times sort of pull in and don't do anything, and their competitors act and do things, and that's the biggest risk.
I also managed to get a really great conversation with James Taylor, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at OnRobot. He was able to chat a little bit about how his organization is helping plants that are looking to automate, especially distributors who already have contracts that are ready to be delivered. When you don't know what's coming one day from the next, it can be very confusing, especially if you already have, orders that you have to fulfill. So why don't we listen in and see what James had to say about how OnRobot is tackling tariffs? Hi, we're here with James Taylor from OnRobot, and today we're going to be talking about automation and tariffs. So thank you so much for joining me and chatting a little bit about some of the uncertainty that's going on with tariffs in the United States, and
Yep.
particularly in manufacturing and some organizations that might want to automate. Wanted to get your insights into um, kind of how automation innovators like OnRobot might address some of their clients who are feeling apprehensive about the current tariff environment and the uncertainty that they're facing.
Right.
Do you have some sort of guidance for how, you might ease someone's fears if they're looking to automate their operations, but they're not sure what what the tariff environment is like?
Right. Yeah. So obviously the tariffs were, let's say a surprise for a lot of us. So what OnRobot, what we did immediately, we were kind of preparing for it, anticipating maybe something coming. So what we did immediately is offset through discount to our customers in the US. So the first round was a bit of a higher, labeled the reciprocal tariffs. We had a higher discount. And then when the US government decided to pause the reciprocal tariffs, then have a baseline of 10%, we adjusted the discount. So it's keeping us on our toes, so to speak, but we are at least trying to do our part in helping our partners plan. We know partners, our distributors or integrators already have projects out, already have projects quoted, they're delivering, and when a tariff policy changes, when things are en route, it makes things a little bit difficult. So we are trying to do that. I know that in talking with our partners, a lot of them are finding this challenging to deal with. It's not just on robot equipment; it's a lot of equipment that they're using in solutions. And so I know there are some companies that are trying to support in that way. But at least from the OnRobot standpoint, we're doing what we can and trying to at least say, hey, the next 3 months or 90 days, we have some certainty, at least hopefully, according to what the government has announced. So that will hopefully be a window that we can execute and implement on some projects that we have already have kind of in the bag or in the backlog. So we're encouraging our partners to look at the next 90 days, or I guess remaining of those 90-day pause, as a way to say, okay, at least we know what we have for the next 3 months. Let's try to do as much as possible in that period of time. And then, of course, we don't control the government policy, but as they adjust, we will adjust as well.
Absolutely. For companies who are in this environment and they're looking to automate, but maybe they haven't solidified their automation plans, are there quick and easy ways for them to do so in the current environment? Are there things that they can do to kind of scale?
Yeah, I mean, I actually, even without tariffs, my advice to companies looking to scale is always start simple. I think in our industry, there tends to be a desire to tackle big things first. And while sometimes that's appropriate, I think it leads us to overlook a lot of the simple things that we can do. And I think that resonates a lot more with SMEs, so small and medium-sized enterprises. They don't have huge budgets and huge staff. So encouraging people to take a look at the smaller processes, the smaller opportunities. And I think when you add them up, they actually are quite meaningful. Maybe it's just one application. It's just one simple robot cell with a gripper doing a simple pick and place. It doesn't necessarily need to be a full, complete automated line. And I think that's a smart way to approach automation in general, regardless of tariffs. So, until companies that have, let's say, a lengthy experience in history doing automation, maybe they can tackle the bigger ones. But for a lot of us, there's so much low-hanging fruit that can be done with simple steps. So it doesn't have to be the big swing. We can do a lot of small stuff. And I think with tariffs happening right now, small stuff still makes sense because we still, at a high level, we still need automation. We still need to produce. We still need to fulfill orders for customers. Consumers are still buying, and all of the economic drivers that are pushing for automation, decreasing workforce, people not wanting to do certain types of jobs. That's still here. So we still need to move forward.
Absolutely. Could you give me maybe a couple of examples of some of that low-hanging fruit that organizations can really kind of capitalize on to automate their operations, in the current environment?
Yeah, I mean, actually, if you look at two really common manual applications in factories around the U.S. are palletizing and CNC machine tending, and those are still manual and still short of labor. A lot of companies are struggling to do it. A lot of companies are having to use extra people who are pulled off of their normal job to run over and do something, or they just don't have it, and it causes delays and causes problems. And so I think the task of setting up a palletizer or a CNC machine tending cell will, that's kind of a low-hanging fruit. That's a simple automation cell. It doesn't need to be 20 lines. It can just be one line. And OnRobot, we are offering solutions that are meant to be simple and easy to set up like that. Not always do automation solutions have to be really complicated. So I think in the US right now, companies are still producing. We still have production going on. They still need to be put in boxes, put on pallets, shipped around the country. And there's not enough people to do that. So that to me is an easy way. There's still parts being machined. And there's not enough people to do it. So I think that's probably two good examples of easy places to start.
Absolutely. That sounds great. Well, again, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time today. And this was really helpful, insightful. I really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
There's one topic that really encompasses all of the publications that we work on our team, the automations and control team at WTWH Media, and that is the supply chain. And it's an interesting thing to bring up because National Supply Chain Day is this upcoming Tuesday, April 29th. So Sheri and I are just going to briefly discuss the supply chain and how it impacts what we cover, how it impacts tariffs, like we mentioned earlier, basically things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah, Sarah, that's a great point. Supply chain is such an important part of everything that we do, whether it's sourcing materials, whether it's, trying to get items that need to be fabricated for your plant. Supply chain is a critical part of all of manufacturing. So it's really important to highlight supply chain, and especially in the environment we're in now, I think it's critical to take a look at how supply chain affects every aspect of manufacturing. So yeah, we're looking forward to getting some insights from some of our editors here at WTWH in the next week. So stay tuned for that.
Okay, I'm going to riff a little bit, Sheri, if you'll let me.
Go ahead. Sure.
So I was thinking about packaging and the supply chain, and the neat thing about packaging and the supply chain is that it probably wouldn't exist without the ability to move products. You can't transport, you can't protect or sell products without packaging. And for manufacturing, without manufacturing, there's simply no product to move. Packaging is where product meets the world. It's the first impression. It's the final touch point. And our boss, Stephanie Neal, actually did an interview a few months ago with Robbie Martin. He's the principal of Threefold Consulting, and he previously worked at Bush Brothers as a packaging engineer for nearly 2 decades. And he had a quote that stuck with me. He said, packaging is the most recognized aspect of sustainability for customers because it's the part they directly interact with. Customers see it, touch it. It's the primary container they engage with, and it shapes how they view a brand's environmental impact. So tying it back into the supply chain, and mentioned earlier, especially in a world we're trying to use fewer materials and lower emissions, I think packaging is such a key element It's not just about something, how it looks on the shelf, or how it lures a customer in to learn more, how a flexible package can stand up by itself. It's bigger, and it's about how it moves through the supply chain, how it protects the product, and how it impacts the planet. While it's a small part of the supply chain, it does carry a lot of weight.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's a great point, and packaging moves the world. I mean, when you really think about it, there would be no manufacturing or no supply chain without packaging. So that's a great point, Sarah.
Thank you, Sheri. Yeah, and then we could chat real fast, Sheri, about ProMat, just your big takeaways. I know it was about a month ago. This is our first episode. We were both on the ground for the event. What was your big takeaway from it?
I think that there are so many trends that are moving really fast. And manufacturing in general, I think is, a field in which, it's constantly evolving. And the ways in which we use AI and other automation tools, I feel like that's the driving trend right now. Machine learning, AI, and the ways in which humans interact with that automation. I think for a lot of years, people had this sort of fear of automation, that, automation is going to steal people's jobs and put other people out of work. And I think that we are finding that's not the case. I think that humans are needed in the AI loop. That's the big takeaway I had from ProMat, is how important and essential humans are in AI, and that without automation, our jobs are a lot harder. And I think that we just have to prepare ourselves and learn as much as we can about automation and how to interact with it.
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, and it kind of echoes what I already said, on display in Chicago in terms of packaging were a lot of sustainability and innovations. I already talked about Rampak's paper wrap. I'll bring up Pack Size's X6 box machine. It can make up to 1,500 boxes per hour with right sizing technology, which reduces materials and enhances a manufacturer's sustainability or eco-friendly footprint. It was awesome. It was the biggest event I had ever been to, and for work. And it was a lot of walking. It was a hike, but I'm thankful Sheri was there by us.
Aw, likewise, bestie.
I had a really good talk too with Nord Drive Systems. They had a variety of items on display, but especially their NordCon software. And you can read more about this at packagingoem.com. They recently updated the software. It's NordCon 3.0. It provides a variety of drive data, informations, and touch points, and it has mobile interface options now. So you can get it on your iPhone, you can get it on your Android. It's just awesome to see the digital transformation just taking over.
Right, absolutely. Digital transformation is the topic, and it's something that, we're going to be watching for a long time to come. Awesome. On that note, on the topic of live events, let's chat a little bit about what's coming up. Where are you going to be in May?
So this May, I will be heading to Detroit for Automate. And as an Ohio State alum, it is a little hard for me to cross the Michigan border. It's not exactly that I like it, but I will do it for work. I will get the good content. I'll bring it back to our listeners on the downtime. And actually, one of my dogs is coming on the trip. I'm driving up since it's so close, and he's going to stay with one of my friends. So I've never brought a dog on a work trip before. His name's Mr. Baby. And that will be from May 12th through the 15th, Automate in Detroit.
Awesome. I'm sure you'll see a lot of our listeners there, so that'll be exciting. Get all
Yeah,
the content.
we'll be winning on the go.
Yes. Hashtag winning on the go. We love it. I'm going to be going to Las Vegas, Viva Las Vegas, I'm going to be gone from May 5th to May 8th for Epicor Insights. I'm going to be going for all of the great content on AI and enterprise resource planning. So I will have that hot AI detail content for you as soon as I get back from Epicor Insights. Really looking forward to that trip. Mandalay Bay in Vegas. When I'm not getting all that juicy content for your listening pleasure, I am going to go check out the spa and get a massage.
Hey, very nice.
Yeah, I've
Can you
never.
do me a Can you
Go
do
ahead.
me a favor while you're in Vegas? Just
I
go to the
can.
Wynn. Just go
I
to the Wynn
will.
and embrace it.
I will go get all of the pictures at the Wynn for you.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Winning. Absolutely.
Okay, so next week on the Downtime, Sheri and I will be getting ready to go to Epicor Insights and to Automate. We'll be sharing our preparations for that. In terms of packaging, we're going to talk about the packaging regulations, the different legislation that has went into effect in the various states across the United States of America this year. It includes styrofoam bans. It includes single plastic items. Hotels have to modify what they're doing. So it doesn't just impact manufacturers, machine builders, it has a consumer impact too. So if you're traveling to one of these states, you want to be in the know. So we're going to talk about that next week. I'm also going to bring up another innovation I saw at ProMat, and it's from Six Sensor Intelligence. They presented their sensing cam. At ProMat, it comes in two different models. It's an industrial streaming camera that can document any errors that a machine may have. It can be used in a variety of settings, including packaging, plant engineering, things like that.
Awesome. Excited for that conversation. Next week on the Downtime, I am talking about the skill gap and labor gap in manufacturing. I had a great conversation with Aaron Prather, who is the director of automation and robotics for ASTM International. And he offered some really great insights into how, manufacturers are trying to lure in younger workers. The average age of the average manufacturing employee is 44 years old, and we chat about how manufacturers can make the work more appealing to Gen Z workers. So stay tuned for that conversation. It's a hot topic, and I'm sure we'll have a lot more conversations about how manufacturers are trying to attract younger talent.
Signing off for the first time from the Downtime. Thank you for spending your downtime with Sheri and I and listening to our various manufacturing insights. Sheri?
Thanks so much, y'all, for spending your downtime with us. We'll catch you in the next one.